Over the entire history of Dota, there have been countless updates, and not all of them were equal. However, there are a few patches that brought the most important changes. For example, patch 7.00 added more to Dota than anything else. The backpack mechanic, talents, a new interface, and much more. In 7.22, every hero finally received an Aghanim's upgrade. Yeah, don't be surprised. At the time of that update, almost 20 heroes didn't even have scepter upgrades. Patch 7.23 gave every player their own courier. Wards became free, neutral items appeared. In 7.28, Aghanim's shards were introduced, and patch 7.33, which is where we'll start today's video, expanded the map and added tons of new features. Twin gates, Roshan spawns in multiple locations. The Tormentor changes to BKB. But most importantly, this patch gave us a lot of insanely overpowered heroes. It was in this patch that Zeus received the Aghanim's shard we know today. And with it came, you could say, a truly horribly balanced build. But why bring up the past? Well, that's exactly the point of this series. Dota's awful balance, where we look back at broken heroes, overpowered items, poorly tuned patches, and everything in between. Before we get started, as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps. In patch 7.33, Zeus's Aghanim's shard was changed. It allowed his first ability to trigger from his regular attacks. On top of that, it gave plus 100 attack range, and the lightning proc dealt 50% reduced damage. Obviously, in today's Dota, the shard is pretty much the same, except for a couple of small details. Right now, it just helps you farm better. But calling it overpowered would be a stretch. And there are reasons for that. First of all, the old lightning always dealt a percentage of the enemy's current health, 6% at max level, and with the level 20 talent that value doubled. Secondly, and this was the main reason Zeus was so broken, the shard worked on illusions. That meant you could buy a manta, maybe even find an illusion rune, grab the shard, and then literally take your hands off the keyboard. All you had to do was right-click and pop manta, and everything else happened automatically. With this build, Zeus dealt a ridiculous amount of damage. Add in a pike, maybe a neutral item like a bow that boosted attack range, plus the shard that also increased it, and Zeus basically turned into a lightning sniper, only way stronger. He could farm the entire map in under a minute, which skyrocketed his net worth. From there, you could just stack up items, a butterfly, bloodstone for spell lifesteal, or whatever else you preferred. In teamfights, he dished out absurd amounts of damage and could literally win a 1v5. With insane overfarm, Zeus could easily be the only fighter on the map. And damage was never an issue. Even the tankiest heroes melted, thanks to the talent and the lightning procs. Zeus stayed in that state until patch 7.36, where the shard lost its bonus attack range and instead gave plus 140 attack speed. The percentage-based damage was removed from both the talent and the ability itself, and that effect was moved into his passive. On top of that, Zeus's illusions were reworked to deal reduced spell damage, since the auto attacks themselves were applying percentage-based HP damage. That made Manta weaker, but it still allowed the old man to rack up insane net worth. 2 weeks later, another patch came out that completely removed the ability for Zeus's illusions to proc shard lightning. That version of Zeus lasted a little over a year, and while it was fun to play as him, it was definitely not fun to play against. And speaking of frustration, the next hero fits right in. Morphling with the legendary Shotgun. Now this is a truly old school build, no joke. I even found a clip of someone playing Morph in the original Dota, deleting a poor Spirit Breaker with it, and that clip is nearly 15 years old. Naturally, the build carried over into Dota 2, surviving the old Source 1 engine all the way up to patch 7.00. The shotgun morph was named after Ethereal Blade. The combo was simple. You ride in on Waveform, cast Ethereal, drop Adaptive Strike, and most heroes just instantly died because the damage was insane. All thanks to the shotgun build. Today, Ethereal Blade is built from Ghost Scepter, but back then it was crafted from Eagle Song and Ghost Scepter. The playstyle was brutal. You could hit hard with your right clicks, but at the same time always had the option to 2-button delete any hero on a short cooldown. Unlike Kaya, Ethereal gave way more options. Tons of agility, which meant damage, attack speed, and armor, plus a built-in save with its active. This combo in the mid-game was one of the most unfair things ever. You could just disappear at any moment without any chance to react. That infamous build finally died in patch 7.31, when Ethereal Blade's recipe was changed. Another hero that fell victim to insane imbalance was Luna, and this one happened pretty recently, in 2024. The reason this Luna was so strong is simple. The hero reached her deadly power spike way too early. With just BKB, Manta, Mask of Madness, Dragon Lance and Kaya, which at the time still amplified auto-attack damage, Luna became unstoppable. She farmed items fast, leveled quickly, and at level 20 she picked up a talent that gave 2 Loosen Beam glaive shots. Add Kaya's bonus damage to her right clicks, and suddenly you had massive burst damage on a very low cooldown. By level 25, the beam could even hit a second target, so if the enemy support was standing nearby, they would just instantly vanish. Luna dumped so much damage into your draft that she didn't even need to right-click you directly. Another example of awful balance was Winter Wyvern at release. The reason? Her ultimate let everyone attack the target without restrictions. That meant Winter's Curse was basically a massive AoE stun, and enemies still took the full incoming damage. Unlike Enigma, Wyvern didn't need channeling or to stand close to her targets. The cooldown was just 90, 80, 70 seconds. Later, Valve added 70% damage resistance to cursed units, but that didn't really fix it. This version of Wyvern even made it all the way to the International 2015. Only at the end of that year did she finally get nerfed when allies were no longer able to deal damage to cursed teammates. Another infamous imbalance, Spirit Breaker. His saga lasted nearly 2 years. It all started in 2021, when Aghanim's Scepter reduced Charge of Darkness's cast time to just 0.1 seconds, and his bash damage gained a 1.5x multiplier against creeps. Suddenly, people started spamming Bara with builds through null talismans and spell amplification. He could clear creep waves instantly, had insane status resistance, and even a nullifier wasn't always enough to stop him. Then, in 7.31, Nulls got nerfed, and Spirit Breaker disappeared from the meta. But in 7.32, he came back. Charge always had a 0.1 second cast time. Bara was back in full force. With Aghanims and Octarine, Charge's cooldown dropped to just 6 seconds. A new build appeared, Midas plus Octarine. With 2 Midas charges, he was completely broken. Eventually though, everything got nerfed. Midas recharge, talents, creep damage, and in 7.37 charge was reworked to ramp up gradually instead of instantly. Now let's talk about Aeon Disc. Its peak was back in patch 7.29. Heroes like Brewmaster would just jump into a teamfight, wait for the disc to proc, and then freely cast everything they needed. It was broken for 3 reasons: the sustain-heavy meta, the cheap cost of only 3,000 gold, and the fact that it doubled as both a save and an initiation tool. Later, its cooldown was increased to a scaling 165 seconds, up from 105, and the item fell out of the meta. And that's everything I wanted to cover today. Thanks for watching, and I hope you've already left your precious like. See you next time.